Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. I figured it was time to do another one of these perfect sides episodes. You recall, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now, we did the first one. Now, I'm sure this is not an original idea, but it's something that I kind of thought about. I've thought about for years and years, like many of you guys. You know, the unique quality of listening to vinyl, or I guess a cassette would work too, where you do have this sort of natural divide between side one and side two. If it's a double, three and four also. And where, the premise of this video, of course, is, or the series, are these records where one of those sides, I mean, the other side can be good, but one of these sides is really just elevated and is just perfection, takes on its own character, its own mood, etc. So we did five in the first video. Go back and watch that if you hadn't seen it. But I've picked five more to feature that I think are perfect sides. And for no particular reason, I wanted to pick all side twos, but I didn't quite get that. I've got four side twos, but then one of my picks is a side three off a double. But I didn't want to do any side ones in this video. I don't know why. Because, it's kind of interesting to think about. A lot of it's just kind of natural. I think it's smart strategy. A lot of bands probably front load records. When I was looking at my kind of my draft list of just all the perfect sides I could think of when I was coming up with this series, a lot of side ones, not as many side twos, and it kind of makes sense. You sort of front load it so you grab people's attention, right? But no, these are ones where they save the best for last. So I don't know, side twos. So and again, we're not ranking them just like last time. The first one, an obvious band. I think anytime anyone uses this band for any of these video ideas, it's an obvious pick because it's just the obvious pick. And so I don't know if you watch a lot of my videos. I don't go to them all that often. I think on purpose because I don't want to be obvious. But on this, it works. So my first pick, 1969, is in fact side two of the Beatles' Abbey Road. And I think it's just too obvious to ignore. I mean, side one is cool. Obviously, Come Together. I Want You is awesome. I even, Something is great. Octopus's Garden is all right. Maxwell's Silver Hammer and Oh Darling for me kind of pull that side one down, back to the planet Earth. Side two, though, I mean, look at this. Opening with one of George Harrison's great Beatles songs, Here Comes the Sun. Then that beautiful harmonizing, I mean, Beach Boys level harmonizing on Because. Then one of my very favorite kind of deep, I don't know, deep cuts on the Beatles, wasn't a hit, is You Never Give Me Your Money. I love that song. I love all the different parts to it. But then, what everyone talks about on side two is, the medley, the suite, whatever you want to call it. With Sun King, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End. And then you want to top it off with one of the very first hidden tracks ever, Her Majesty, right? Yeah, perfect side. And, Paul McCartney and George Martin, I think, are primarily responsible for that greatness there in the end. And such a great idea, and it works for the Beatles because they're such incredible songwriters that they just had all these little song segments and pieces and unfinished pieces, and they just string them together and made this like awesome medley. So there you go. Maybe obvious, but obvious for a reason. All right, moving ahead to 1972. I'm going with side two of Wishbone Ash's Argus. Love this record. Great all the way through, but man, it's side two that has the epics. I mean, the guitar interplay between Andy Powell and Ted Turner is just astounding. I mean, those intertwining guitar parts. Side two opens with "The King Will Come," maybe my favorite song of Wishbone Ash. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've got maybe 4 or 5 of their records. I don't have everything, so I'm not an expert, but from what I've heard, it's probably my favorite song. Leaf and Stream. And then closing with that 1-2 punch of Warrior and Throw Down the Sword. I mean, just like I said, epic feel to it, and just superlative guitar playing from those guys. There you go. Next, moving up 1 year ahead, 1973, going with one of my favorite artists, side 2 of Bruce Springsteen's sophomore effort, The Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle. Now, there's only 3 songs on that side, but they're all really long songs, multi-part songs. Where he really didn't. I mean, occasionally, maybe like on Jungle Land, on Born to Run, the next record he did, but didn't really go to that sort of epic length and multi-part songs really again. And the way the songs really flow into each other is just awesome. I mean, there's really no let up. And the 3 songs are very distinct in the sound, the tempos, the moods. Opening with Incident on 57th Street, which I think really is one of his great street operas. God, I love that song. That may be one of my very favorite Springsteen deep cuts. Then, of course, Rosalita, Come Out Tonight. I mean, the ultimate, you know, I guess, concert closer, right? And, that was always in the encores for forever. 8 to 10 minutes of just exuberance, just excitement, and then totally shifting gears and closing with, I believe, is the longest song it's on studio albums, New York City Serenade. That quiet, moody, it's just such a great contrast to the bombast that came before. And I love that kind of early version of that E Street Band, featuring David Sanchez and Vinny Lopez, and they would be gone on the next record. A little more jazzy, a little more. I don't know. I think the musicianship is a little higher with that early version of the band. All right, so there you go. Here's my side 3. I told you I'd have one side 3 from a double, going up to 1975. Great eclectic record, a record that I have come to appreciate more and more. I think as time has gone on. So, talking about Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, side 3. And a record that has such eclecticism. I think in part because, if you know the story behind this record, some of these were new songs that they put together, but then they filled it out with uh, stuff from the vaults from the past couple of years, couple of sessions that just hadn't made it on some of those previous records. So it's really sort of a cleaning out of the vaults plus some new material, which makes this record, I think, like I said, this double album very eclectic and kind of sprawling, but in the best of ways. In side 3 is maybe the most eclectic of all. I mean, opening with In the Light, which is bringing in some of the keyboards and synthesizers that John Paul Jones was experimenting with, and and that latter part of their career. I don't know. I don't want to say it's almost proggy, but a little bit. I mean, it's kind of longer length, and then the beautiful solo acoustic instrumental Bronniar. If I'm saying that right, I don't know. Never sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But Jimmy Page just playing that gorgeous finger picking. I mean, I love it. Then going into Down by the Seaside, right, which is one of the most un-Zeppelin songs in all their catalog, but it's great. It's almost this sort of like country ballad type of thing, and I don't know country, but it's got a little country lilt to it. Then one of my very favorite, closing that side, one of my very favorite Led Zeppelin songs. I think one of their greatest deep cuts. It would be in my top 10 Zeppelin songs, and that's 10 Years Gone. And just I love that guitar, that slow, beautiful guitar riff that just opens it, and that first section, just so kind of melancholy and wistful, and I just love that. Anyway, it's a great eclectic side for a great eclectic record. My final pick, I get something out of the '80s, jumping up to 1984. Gotta go with Prince and side 2 of Purple Rain. I mean, I think this is a perfect record start to finish, but that side 2 really, it just in the stratosphere. I mean, opening with When Doves Cry, I believe his highest charting hit. Fascinating that there's no bass line in that song. That song is no bass at all. So cool. And then the two songs that kind of go together, because I remember the music video, they were together, so almost like a medley, right? I Would Die for You, and then Baby I'm a Star. I've always really loved I Would Die for You. I mean, that is a like a proclamation of Christianity, basically. I mean, that's what it is. I think a lot of people listen to that on radio and thought, it was this sort of, declaration of love for, his lover. I guess it could sort of double as that if you wanted, but listen carefully. He's singing from the perspective of Christ, and that's amazing. But Prince, there's so many elements and sides to Prince, but he was he took his Christianity actually very seriously, and was a very spiritual person. And to turn that into a pop song on this, this very otherwise very secular, pop juggernaut record, I think is a neat trick. And then you close with, I mean, the epic of epics, the title track, Purple Rain. I mean, what do I need to say about that? I always found it interesting. I remember reading this multiple places when Prince was asked about that song. He said that he was inspired. He wanted to write a song like Bob Seger. I don't really hear Bob Seger when I hear that song, but whatever. And one of the great guitar solos, just so awesome. Of course, I'm always reminded of the greatest halftime show at any Super Bowl ever, right? When Prince did the halftime show. Remember that? I forget what year, but and it rained, and he goes into Purple Rain in the rain, and it's just like awesome. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. So there you go, side 2 of Purple Rain. All right, there's another kind of quick batch of perfect sides, side 2s, and one side 3. So in the comments, let's hear it. More perfect sides. Let's go. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Please do subscribe if you haven't. We really appreciate it. It helps us out. Hit the bell for notifications, like the videos, all that great stuff, and we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.